TOS fans, it's me, Pete. That's right, it's deck building time, and here's another deck audio for you. This week I'm going to be playing as Khorne and Magore's Fiends. We are burning through the combinations. This is one of the last few matches coming up. As always, we try and build our decks in a tournamenty style, so we don't try and completely tailor them to who we're coming up against, but I do know I'm coming up against the Chosen Axes, so it is going to be bloody. And what are my tactics going to be with Magore? Well, I was thinking about buying him flowers and chocolates, but I'm just going to kill him instead. Yeah, Magore does one thing very well, and that's smash people up with his axes, praising Khorne, spilling blood and claiming skulls. And that's what I'm going to go with this deck. I've got a lot of instant win cards in here, so hopefully that'll help me get some glory early on and get some of my guys powered up. And other than that, I'm just going for a kill fest. I have got quite a large hand on this one. I've got 24 cards because we have our faction fraction in play, which means I do have to have 1/3 of my objectives being Magore specific, and 1/2 of my ploys and upgrades. And as there were some cards I really wanted to take, I had to take more ploys and upgrades from Magore's side as well. But I don't think that's going to be a bad thing in this situation. So let's crack on. What have I got? So for my objectives, my warband specific ones, I have a Bane of Champions because the dog is good, the dog is great. I do like Riptooth, and I'm hoping I can send him over to bite off Fuel's head at some point, and that'll give me 2 glory if I can manage it. I also have No Escape. This is a nice mid-turn scorer. I've just got to make 3 charges and I get a glory. Nice and easy, can't fluff that one up. I've also got Rivers of Blood, which is scoring an end phase if all surviving fighters, at least 4, are wounded. Now this could normally be quite a hard one to pull off because of the placement of the models, but I have got Shard Gale, and that's going to be useful, hopefully, along with Rivers of Blood and a few other cards in my objectives. My last objective from my warband specific ones is Show of Strength, which is kill someone with Magore. That's another instant score. I've got 3 of those just in my Magore specific cards. Of my generic ones, I also have Advancing Strike, which is kill someone in their territory. Hopefully I'm going to do a lot of that, so that's another instant glory. I've also got Alone in the Darkness. I do like this card, and I have got Great Concussion as well. So hopefully this one will be a fairly easy one to score if that one comes out at the same time. If not, I'm hoping that generally I'm going to be hitting people and knocking them flying, which is going to keep that spacing. I've also got Blooded. This one is score in an end phase of all of my surviving fighters have at least 1 wound. Now I do need 3 of my fighters alive, but I'm hoping I've got the survivability to stay upright for that one. I'm also hoping that Shard Gale will be used for Blooded as well. I've then got Chosen Champion, put 3 upgrades on a fighter. Well, I'm probably going to be favouring either Magore or the dog in this scenario, so that should be fairly easy to score, assuming I get some glory to start with. I've then gone for Massive Assault. I've got some plus damage cards, so I'm hoping with Massive Assault I should be able to manage dealing 7 damage. I've got Ploy Master as well. Ploy Master's a nice and easy one, I nearly always take that. Scent of Victory, then this is the 3rd in my 3 objectives, which requires the use of Shard Gale, and for the Scent of Victory I score if all surviving enemy fighters, at least 3, have at least 1 wound. Now again, there needs to be at least 3. This would be much better against warbands that have more fights in, such as Garrick, the Skaven or the Sepulchral Guard, but the dwarves have a lot of wounds on them, so I'm hoping that I won't have killed anybody before this one comes out with Shard Gale. And the last one is Swift Advance, which is basically get everybody in the enemy territory. I'm going to be aiming for that because I'm going to be going after the dwarves, so that should be a fairly easy one for me. So overall there, I've got 5 instant scores and 7 regular cards. It's a fairly low scoring set of cards. I don't have anything that goes above 2, nearly everything is a 1 glory scorer, but I'm hoping that getting that glory mid-turn often will help power my guys up with upgrades and make them more killy early. Of course, every successful attack I do does inspire one of my guys, and the more of them I can get inspired and upgraded, then the more killy they'll be. It might mean that I shoot myself in the foot a bit, I can't score Blooded, or Scent of Victory, or Rivers of Blood, because I kill people off outright rather than wounding them. But you know what, I think I'll be okay with that too, because if I wipe the board, then I'll be fine. So those are my objectives, and what I'm going to buy with all that glorious glory, well, these are my upgrades, and like I said, I'm going for a 24 card deck here, so I have to have 6 Magore specific upgrades. These are those. The first one is Brutal Charge, which is roll an extra attack dice when the fighter makes a charge action. That goes on any 3 of my fighters, not the dog. I'm quite happy with this card. It does mean that if Zarkus or Gartok get inspired, they'll be rolling 4 attack dice, Magore will be rolling 3. They all roll hammers, so that will make any of them pretty decent. The fact that I can play it on any one of those three as well makes it a pretty useful card all across the board. I've then gone for Furious Charge, which is Xarkas only, and it means that when they make a charge action, he rolls hammers and swords for success, which makes him doubly good if he can get Brutal Charge as well. I've then gone for Predatory Leap for Riptooth. Normally I'd probably take Shadow Step instead of Predatory Leap, but you know what, I've got to take 6 upgrades, so I took that one. I've also got Rage Fueled Attacks, another one for Xarkas. This one means he'll do +1 damage as well, so if I got Brutal Charge, Furious Charge and Rage Fueled Attack on him, he'd roll hammers and swords, he'd roll an extra dice and he'd do an extra damage. Xarkas could actually be a winner for me here. I've also got Trophy Hunter for Magore. If he's going to kill somebody, might as well get an extra glory for doing it. And Wrathful Blows, one for Gartok finally. This one basically means that any of his attacks have +1 dice. This is nice because it's not charges, it's any attack at all. Once he's inspired, he'll be rolling 4 dice for his attack. That's pretty scary. For my non-warband specific cards, I've got Awakened Weapon because re-rolling a dice for me is very handy as I only rolled 2 or 3. Dark Darts because the range will be good for me. Cleave is also handy in this case as I'm against dwarves, but it would still be my pick over Shade Glass Darts. Then Helpful Whispers. Any friendly fire that doesn't have an adjacent friendly fire rolls single assists, counter successes. That was always useful because my guys are quite often on their own. Incredible Strength, +1 damage, always good. Light Armour, crits on defense no longer count, but roll an extra attack dice. I could have Xarkas rolling up to 5 dice if I could get that on him as well. That could be insane. And then SOULTRAP, good old SOULTRAP, got to take SOULTRAP or one of its kin, because frankly my guys don't come back from the dead and I don't like that, so I'd like to keep them alive wherever possible. Maybe Xarkas. The more I think about this, the more I like Xarkas. Xarkas could be in for a very good game here. So those are my upgrades purchased with the glorious glory from those objectives. And what ploys am I going to use to help me gain the glory to buy those upgrades? Well, these are those. So starting with my faction specific cards again, I've gone for Blood Frenzy, which is play after an attack action or ploy takes a fighter out of action. I can then roll 1 additional attack dice for my next attack, and both hammers and swords are successes. That's a bit of a mouthful there, but basically if he kills one of my guys in my next turn after playing this, I'll get an extra dice which counts both hammers and swords. It's a bit of a tricky one because it needs to be a reaction and it needs to be after one of my guys has just been killed, but it could be a handy one to help turn the tide back should one of my guys get chopped to pieces. I've then gone for Demonic Resilience. The next fighter who takes damage only suffers 1 damage. His guys hit hard, fuel does like 4 damage, something insane like that. To be able to cap that at 1 could be a real spit in the eye. Fountain of Gore is next. Now this is another reaction, but if I kill one of his guys I can then play this and I get +1 defense in the next round. Means if I think one of his guys is nearly dead, I could use this to sprint across, chop him to pieces and then get a little bit of extra defense to hopefully avoid too much retaliation. I then got Furious Inspiration because my guys need to get a successful hit to get inspired. To be able to bypass that and just inspire someone immediately would be very handy. Glory to Khorne is next. Roll 1 extra attack dice for the first attack made in the next activation. Extra dice, always good wherever I can get it. I could put that on Xarkas and I could be rolling something like 6 dice. Insane! And to the Victor the Spores. I like this card. Kill someone with a wound characteristic of 3 or more. Draw 3 power cards when you kill them. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm going to be going for the kills, so hopefully I get this. That'll help me really bulk out my hand early on. And the more cards I've got available, the more chance I've got of having even more dice to roll. And of my non-warband specific cards, I've got Jewel of Wits, and another one I like to take because I've got a large hand, 24 cards. I want to be able to cycle through them as much as I can. Play this one when Robin plays a ploy and pick 2 more cards. Great Concussion, because as I said before, why wouldn't you ever take this? It's a great card against anyone. If Robin's going for objectives, I can push him off. If he's just coming after me, I can use this to push him away, or I can use it to push him towards me, in fact. So, you know, it's good all around. I've got Healing Potion next because, as I said before, my guys die and they don't come back. I would rather use Healing Potion wherever I can to try and save whoever's got the most buffs on them. Hidden Paths because I've had horrible experiences in the past of having to face down a long board edge, and Magore and his guys aren't the fastest initially, and without the kills or without the successful attacks they don't speed up very much. This would be handy to suddenly pop somebody up next to somebody else like Fuel, or maybe even one of the weak ones like Megrim or something like that, and then just get a few extra hits in here or there. Our next card is Ready for Action! Because being able to make an extra attack or an extra move is absolutely invaluable. The extra attack is nearly always going to be my preference with Khorne, but you never know, sometimes you want to move just to get right across the board, get into that position so you can start chopping people up. And the last card is, as I mentioned right at the start, if you remember that you get a cookie, Shard Gale. This one I'm going to be using hopefully to help me score Rivers of Blood, Blooded and Sense of Victory. One is having at least 3 wounded enemy fighters, one is having at least 3 wounded friendly fighters, and one is having at least 4 wounded fighters overall. If I can get that early, along with Shard Gale, those could be some very easy glory to score. Plus, Shard Gale wounds everyone, brings everybody into range of my Killy Magore or my dog, depending once they get inspired, so it will make his dwarves that much easier to kill off. So that's it, that's my deck. I'm not going for subtle here at all. There's nothing too clever about it. Well, I built it, so there's never going to be anything that clever about it. I'm hoping to charge across the board, chop up a load of stunties, get the skulls, get the blood, and have a nice evening off. That's the plan anyway. Let me know if you guys think there are any cards I haven't taken that I should in here. What would you replace with what? Because it's always nice being told you should have taken this card or I really would have taken that card. But it's finding out what you take out as well. What would you replace with what? That's the big kicker in all of these questions. Are there any objectives that you think I should be dropping from this list? Are there any upgrades that you think I should be picking up? I would love to know, because I always like to be able to improve my deck as much as possible. So see you next time. Bye!